Hello, everybody. This is Juddy. Please enjoy the latest episode of my podcast. My special guest today is James Essen, longtime friend and former manager. Enjoy listening as I attempt to get him to announce who his new employer is. We also talk about his secret formula to loan officer recruiting and retention. And lastly, hear a bit of controversy, as I call him a liar halfway through the podcast. So this episode is sponsored by my mortgage website, which is mnlowdownpayment.com. So stay tuned and enjoy. All right, and we're recording. All right, so James, how's your mic sound? Let me hear you say something.
Something?
It sounds great.
Excellent.
I'm here with James Essen, a good buddy of mine and former coworker at Eagle Home Mortgage. Not only is he the best manager I've ever had, he's also an amazing basketball player and a top-notch golfer and an all-around great guy.
That was very spontaneous.
Did I get that right?
Yeah,
okay.
You got that right.
It's weird that you wrote that for me to say, but I guess I wasn't going to complain about it. But
it's on my card, so.
On the back. Yeah. We're in this beautiful backyard. There's some distant sounds of hammering as folks are getting their roof redone from the storm that came through. And I'm counting looks like we got 4 white tigers, James, in the background here.
There's 4 there. The 5th one is, I think the trainer's doing something in the 5th one right now.
Okay, so, and they're just roaming around the yard? This is okay with you, that they just kind of walk around?
Yeah, we like to create a natural environment here in Hugo. It's kind of God's country.
Okay, well, this is new for me. So yeah, we're...
Just don't look directly in their eyes and you'll be fine.
I wish I had done that before I walked over here. So again, we're in this beautiful backyard setting. It's a nice fall day. We've got some cigars, courtesy of James. I'm trying to keep mine lit, but I seem to have struggled with that. But we're talking today about recruiting and retention from a standpoint of mortgage, of course. So James, tell me, what's your philosophy or overall thoughts on recruiting? How's it been? Obviously, you've been successful recruiting in your lifetime. What's the secret formula? What's the key?
Wow, that's a really good question. I got to start by saying this, that the secret to looking like you know what you're doing when it comes to recruiting is by somehow, some way surrounding yourself with really good people. And that probably has been where I've been fortunate, is early on I just took a very long view approach to the world of recruiting. And for those of you that are listening to this that don't work in the mortgage industry or work in an industry where recruiting seems like it's that big of a deal, in our industry, that's really the life and death of mortgage companies. And really, that comes from identifying people that know what they're doing, that you feel like have a good understanding of the business, they're customer focused. But sometimes that's not enough. So it's also about having those relationships built out where you really get a sense of who somebody is. You never really know for sure, but you're hoping that you're finding like-minded people that have a similar value system and work ethic and kind of see the same vision that you do.
I like that. That's a great way to put it in one easy thought to comprehend. And I don't think people outside this industry realize the recruiting that goes on within mortgage, because there's less and less of us. Obviously, as time goes on, attrition will take away even more numbers. But so recruiting is part of your daily thought process, and I'm recruited almost daily by people I don't know or people I do know. So it's just part of the industry for all of us to deal with, and it's never going to go away, I don't think. And you're recruiting right now for which company?
Great question. Nice try.
So James tried to make it clear to me at the beginning of this that he could not disclose his new employer. It's signed and sealed, but not yet ready to be put out to the public. So I may try throughout the podcast to draw that out of James. Secret time.
And on advice of my legal counsel and management team, I'm going to have to plead the 5th on that. Okay, that's the management team from which company? You can't share. Shoot. Okay. I appreciate persistence.
I'll think of a better way to say that later on. I'll trick you. So again, talking about recruitment or recruiting, is there a magic formula that you found that will get someone's attention, get someone to lean your direction?
I don't know that I have found that magic formula or the magic tactic or words and phrases or whatever you want to call it. For me, and again, not to keep repeating the same thing, but I just think that it's a very unique industry that we've chosen to work in and be part of. And again, for anyone that happens to listen to this, because they're having a difficult time sleeping, or I don't know why they would if they're not in business, but
By accident.
what's
By accident.
by accident. You found this podcast by accident, and we've managed to keep you this long. The thing that you need to understand about the mortgage industry as a whole, and there's always exceptions to this rule, is that it's not like a normal industry where somebody with a title of a manager, regardless of what comes before that, at a branch level or sales manager, or somebody that's even running a large company, has the type of control or authority that you might have in another industry. We're not, we're an industry where the number one value that we have are the employees that decide to come work with us. So for me, the best tactic is really about, again, identifying people that I think can do a good job, and that more importantly, I can provide some value to what they're already doing. So whether that's their pain point is, a difficulty in underwriting. And, one of the common things you hear when you talk to real estate agents or homeowners, I talk to people that my family and friends, and you kind of hear the same story over and over again, right? And it's the classic, well, I thought everything was fine. And then the day before closing, all of a sudden I needed 742 things, and then it wasn't going to happen. And we closed, but man, it was really nerve wracking. And we had to quick pay this credit card off, or we had to borrow money or do these things, right? So sometimes that's an opportunity where you can show a prospective loan officer that, hey, this is what we've done to alleviate that. And it's not perfect. It's never going to 100% go away, but we've done our best to make sure that is truly the exception, not the way we do business. For some people, it's about companies that have made a significant investment in technology. And just like every industry right now, technology is a really big deal for us. Whether that be the tools that we have in place to make it easier for a potential homeowner to apply for a loan and to easily get their documentation in front of an underwriter. Whether it's for marketing purposes, how can this loan officer let everybody they know, what they do, and that they do it well, and they're proud of the material that they put out. It doesn't look like my 9th grader made it, in his art class. And for some, it's, upward mobility and an opportunity to continue to advance and try different things with their career. For some people, it's about, hey, I really love what I do, and I don't necessarily have a problem with underwriting, and I have good technology now, but I don't really feel that the company I'm at is in this for the long haul. They were gung-ho to do mortgages when the economy was great and it was really easy, but now things are getting tougher, and maybe they don't have they don't have the conviction to continue doing what they're doing when times are tougher. And, it's hard to make a change. I, recently, as you kind of alluded to, have been on the other side of that table where, unfortunately, an opportunity that I thought was going to be a place for me to work for a really long time turned out not to be that case. And so I've spent a lot of time on the other side of the table recently, talking to companies and hearing about what's out there. And at one hand, it's really, really exciting to have some very good companies want you to be part of their organization. On the other hand, it's extremely frustrating and it's stressful because you're trying to make a decision that not only will be good for your referral partners or the people you work with, but that is going to allow you to continue to provide for your family. So keeping all of those things in mind, to get back to your original question, and a really, really long way to answer it, no, I don't have a magic formula.
Shoot.
I don't have a one-size-fits-all trick, quote unquote, that I can use to make recruiting easy. It's really just about, again, taking a long view approach, understanding that things of value don't usually happen overnight, and being committed to looking for a way to provide value to anybody that I'm going to work with.
So what I've learned about podcasting is that controversy sells. So I'm going to call you a liar right here, because when you recruited me to come to Eagle, I've had a good experience there. Throughout the course of the last 12 months, I saw many, many other people follow me to Eagle through your efforts. So I think you do have a formula that you're not sharing with us. So I'm going to press you again. What is the magic formula? I don't want to hear any long. I want to know X plus Y. What's the X plus Y equals?
X plus Y
2X. there's an algebraic formula to this somewhere that you're not sharing with the listeners, and I get that, but
It's b squared minus the difference of a times c over pi.
that's not the formula. But okay, we'll let you go on this one for now. But
I
do
have it
wanna-
all. I have it all drawn up on my window. If you can look up there to that wing of the
can't
house.
see back that way.
That's
It's
my a beautiful mind window
Up on
where
the
I have
fourth-
the magic formula for recruiting.
on the third floor or the fourth floor. I can't see up. that high.
Fourth floor, sixth from the left.
That's just not the right answer. But I will give you credit the fact that it was fun to see momentum that you created with people following you here in Minnesota and joining Eagle, because I think that was I always believe in momentum, and I think it's like a snowball effect where if you see people flocking somewhere, I think that speaks sometimes more volume than anything else that can be done, especially with social media and LinkedIn. You've done a good job, I think, of kind of being a very active LinkedIn user and promoter of yourself in a humble sort of way, not in a braggedy sort of way. So I think that part you figured out that formula. But I will say that I think you've got more that you're not sharing with us, but we'll let it go.
Here's the magic formula. You ready?
Yes.
If I could do a really cool drum roll right now, I would. Maybe we can add some sound effects to this.
We'll do that.
So
Just
we'll
edit
pause here. Drum roll.
it. Okay.
Okay, enough drum roll.
Okay.
The magic formula really at the end of everything is very, very simple, right? It's kind of like the golden rule, or maybe it's not exactly the golden rule, but it's just do what you say you're going to do. You can't be something different to everybody you come across. And over time, my hope is that I develop a reputation for people that know me, that even if we decide that we're never going to work together, we come out of that conversation or conversations, sometimes months long, years long, where we can just have an honest and open relationship, and maybe we decide that it's not meant to be, but they still have enough respect for me that I'm genuine in who I am, and I'm going to do what I say I'm going to do.
I'm a bigger man. I'll share the secret formula on my end, even though you won't share yours, but even though you gave me this formula. But I've been consistently emailing my referral partners every Friday with a tasty tidbit, not a rate sheet, but something that tried to give value to their business, which takes me time to write an article, to research something like how to grow an audience in social media. I'm not an expert on that, but I've tried to become one by learning more about it and then sharing what I know. But that's something that you had kind of taught me early on, to be consistent. And that's another one of my referral partners made a comment to me. He's like, "You're the most consistent LO in my life." Even though we just recently began working together again, I've always been trying to gain his trust, trying to work with him. And I think that consistency pays off in any sales that you do. I could be selling elevator music. Muzak, is that still a thing? Muzak?
Oh yeah, it's a big thing.
I meant to go check that out. But I could be selling Muzak, and that consistency could get me.
All right, you broke me down. I'm selling Muzak, so anybody that's looking to create a great atmosphere
James,
for
it's
their
dead.
potential customers.
There's this thing called Spotify now that you don't need Muzak anymore.
Oh man, I was like a decade late. Let me tell you about this great company I heard about, Facebook.
So I think that's something that, again, what I've learned from you, I've learned a few key things from you over the years, but one is, as a salesperson, just be consistent and do what you say you're going to do. And so those two things go a long way.
Well, and and I appreciate saying that. And, I'll give credit where credit is due. There's, again, back to my original opening statement, I have had quote unquote success, and I have a hard time taking credit for it because, honestly, I've been very, very fortunate to work with some really, really talented, smart, great people at what they do, and have been able to pick little bits and pieces and kind of implement that into who I am, while trying to be true to me. And, I thought of as you're talking, I thought about kind of, hey, where did I get that from? And got it from a couple people, but there's a guy who's a professional recruiter for a very large national company, and great company. And one of the things that he does, that he's done for a long time, that I personally think it's hilarious, and it caught my attention, and I always read what he sends out. And he sends out a quote every day, and this guy is, to put it lightly, obsessed with Urban Meyer, a football coach from college, coached at Florida, now is at Ohio State, and we're in Big Ten country, so I like to give him a hard time about that. But he loves Urban Meyer, and he takes all of these famous quotes from like Einstein and FDR and JFK and Gandhi, and he'll post them, and he'll credit them to Urban Meyer. And it's just kind of one of those funny things. Does that mean that the company was great? No, but it got me to have a conversation with him to learn more, because I appreciated that he was consistent. He did something that was different. It got people's attention.
Got you a chuckle.
Yeah, it got me a chuckle. And is that enough alone to go, oh my gosh, I got to go work there? No, but it definitely made him somebody that I wanted to talk to. I wanted to hear more.
I'm going to apologize for my voice being so husky sounding. It's because we're smoking some fine cigars, and I'm not used to fine cigars. I'm not used to any cigars, but I like cigars. And funny story, so I did my very first podcast on my back porch with my good buddy Bamba. We both brought cigars, and my family, I think, almost tried to do intervention with me that I was on drugs, because my children have been through the DARE program and think that smoking anything is a bad thing. And so I got nothing but grief the next day about the fact that I'd smoked half a cigar. And so my voice, this might be an improvement, actually.
I didn't want to say anything, but this is kind of the formula. You've got the raspy radio voice down.
Oh, jeez.
And I'm kind of waiting for you to break in and sell me some gold commodities or something.
Should I sing a song? I wonder if I got a nice...
Who's
a husky singer?
Let's not get carried away.
I'm stop using the word husky too. I don't like the word husky. It makes me feel like I'm tubby. I'm not, right? I'm barrel chested.
What?
My wife doesn't like when I use words like barrel chested or athletically built.
Yeah.
She's more blunt. So, but when days like today, when it's 45 degrees outside, I feel quite warm. So I look back at my training over the summer of putting on 10 pounds, and I think that's helped.
Yeah, I'll say this. A lot of people don't have the foresight or the fortitude to make that kind of commitment. But you knowing that winter is coming and saying, hey, I'm going to be ahead of the curve.
Yes.
And I just saw a thing. The dad bod is the new thing.
Is it really?
It really is.
With who?
That's the thing, I guess. No more. People don't want six-pack abs and flat stomachs, you know.
I'm so glad that I made it through that phase.
You're a trendsetter.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about so there's a double-edged sword for you. Recruiting is obviously important, which you've done quite well at. Retention. That's the word. Dang it! That's why you get the big brains. Retention has been also, I think, a successful trait of yours. So, talk to me about your secret formula to retention.
Secret formula.
Before a caveat. I've seen companies that have had large turnover, 100%, which is a warning sign. When people see people leaving somewhere and not growth and shrinkage, that's definitely, I think, a warning sign for some that something's wrong. So a retention might almost be a recruiting tool, because I think if people see growth and not people flocking away from someplace, that's a benefit. So talk about retention.
Sure. You know, there's like this initial, and I've heard this other places, so... you know, not to jump on a bandwagon, but like you hear this term all the time, fear of missing out, FOMO. I don't know if you've heard that.
Never heard that before in my life.
You never heard that before?
No, seriously, no, never.
Oh, I just came up with that. I call it fear of missing out. It's in my book.
Wait, fear of... Okay,
FOMO.
I got it.
Okay. So initially, you know, the tendency is to see like, oh my gosh, this company hired a bunch of people, and that'll create some buzz and interest. But just the fact that other people are going to work there doesn't mean that that's a place that people will continue to want to work at. Mm-hmm. If you don't deliver what you say you're going to deliver, or you get somebody to come work with you under false pretenses, again, whether we're selling Muzak, mortgages, or anything in between, you know, that isn't a long-term formula. So, you know, initially you can have some wins with FOMO, people going, gosh, so-and-so went there and so-and-so went there. I better go there, right?
Right.
But the key in my mind is really building something to last, and that's where the retention starts with upfront, making sure that you're hiring the right people for the right reasons. And then it becomes really easy, because they're there for the same vision that you're there for. You didn't overpromise them something that you can't follow through on. You didn't paint a picture that was rosier than it was. Sometimes to my detriment, I'll be overly blunt with people and talking about the things that, you know, maybe we're not as good at. And from my perspective, I'd rather have somebody come in eyes wide open and go, you know what? No company is perfect. At least no company that is staffed with human beings. Everyone has their own biases and opinions and backgrounds. But I see the greater good of working here, and I think that if I go to work at this company and originate mortgages, I'm going to be able to have the tools that I need to make my referral partners better. And more importantly, I'm going to provide a really, really good experience to my customers. And that's the key, because if your customers are happy and they like the service you provide, you're going to get repeat business. You're going to get referral business. You're going to have something that's sustainable. And I can speak to this firsthand. As flattering as it may be sometimes to be recruited, and that's a daily part of what we do, it's painful to switch jobs. There just is. Even if the company you're at right now isn't great, there's always this part of you that when you start a new company and that first day, you don't know anybody and you don't even know the number to IT support, and you go in your mind, gosh, my other company was horrible, but at least I knew who to call when my printer didn't work, right? Now I don't know anybody. So getting through that and seeing that this is a place that provides that value, I think is makes it pretty easy to retain good employees. People that came there for the right reason.
That makes sense. That makes complete sense. And I think that in our business, when there's always greener grass, or there appears to be greener grass, it's very important to, I've seen you do a good job of kind of keeping your pulse on people and doing the small things like wishing people happy birthday on their birthday, or which is sincere, not just like, I didn't get a card from you signed by somebody else in your, with your letterhead. It was, things like that are important. And little things like that. But I do think that it's important to feel like you like where you work, and from little things like that to big things like support. And you and I go back this year. We sat down and we got another plane coming in.
Oh, that's for my next appointment. They're just landing over on the strip over there. Don't worry about it.
Okay. Well, the Tigers are upset now, so.
And don't pay any attention to the logo on the side of that plane.
Is that I can't make out. You can share what logo is that?
I can't. Again, I'm going to have to defer to my management on that.
So I do think that it's important to be happy where you work, and I've been very happy with the fact that you've sat down with me. We had a very blunt conversation about 2 months ago, where you said, "Walk me through your coffee meetings with your referral partners. How's that look?" And I explained to you how it looked, which I thought was pretty amazing. And you came back and said, "I think it could look better. I think it could be better. And so let's refine your sales tools. Let's sharpen your sales tools." And we did. And I've seen a result from that right away. And just that's something that I'd done the same thing for the last 7 years. I'm not sure how you got wind that it maybe could be better, but you did. And so that's where you knew me well enough to know I was open-minded in how that could be better. And that's put more money into my family's pockets.
Well, and those are the things that retention is the word, isn't necessarily, and all those things that you mentioned, like the saying happy birthday to somebody and making it a point to really hopefully know the name of everyone's spouse that I work with and have at least some idea of what is going on with their family and who they really are outside of work, because it's such a small part of what we are and who we are as people. That the other part of it, though, is I made a commitment to you that when you came here, I was going to help you do better. And not that you were doing bad or failing or any of those other things, but I hold myself to that commitment. And that's something I look at, on a daily basis. What have I done today to follow through on that commitment to make the people that chose to come work here better? And sometimes that means that you have to have an uncomfortable conversation with somebody, especially when you've got to know somebody for a long time and you start to look at them as a friend. I think that's when you even have a bigger obligation, but it can be tough. You get a little nervous sometimes having those conversations with people, hoping that they are who you thought they are and that they know that you're coming to them from a place of respect and,
right.
You want good things for them. So I think that has been something that I really have put a lot of focus and energy on, and I'm glad to hear that, that's something that you saw as a value. On a totally side note, when it comes to birthdays, I just have to bring this up. I almost never get to go on this rant with this pet peeve, but I just have to say it.
And that's it for today, folks. So let's.
You wanted controversy, right?
Yes.
So here it is. Here's the controversy for the day. Drum roll. Okay, drum roll over.
All right.
Wishing people happy birthday on Facebook drives me insane. So for anybody that listens to this, that is my Facebook friend, I appreciate it when somebody does take the time to say hi. On Facebook, or they wish me happy birthday. I don't want to seem like, oh, that's just garbage. But to me, that sometimes becomes more about, hey, look at me wishing this person happy birthday. So I don't do a lot of Personally, I don't do a lot of posts that are like that. I'd rather have one-on-one communication. And I always try to make it a phone call. Sometimes it's a text and then a phone call later. But I just personally feel like that's a little bit more genuine than,
There was a whole discussion about that I was in a book club with realtors, and we had a whole discussion about how sincere or insincere that can feel. And people were very clear that HBD is almost like a slap in the face. You put so little effort into this wishing me happy birthday that you couldn't even write the whole words out.
Hang on a second.
All right.
Okay, I just had to put my soapbox away. Sorry. We can get back to what were we talking about?
But what I do is I will, if it's someone that I know well, I will actually will text them. So Facebook alerts me that it's their birthday, which is a good thing because I don't know everyone's birthday. But I'll actually text them and say, hey, have a great day, happy birthday. That I think is how I'd like to be. I'd love to get that same treatment back to me. But I will go as far as I will put a funny meme on Facebook, which I don't do HBD. I'll put a happy birthday with Bert from.
Yeah. Well, and again, even that, it takes a little bit of extra time. It's more than just oh, hey, I got this notification. Let me quick type 3 letters out so I can check a box.
I'll do definitely a cut and paste funny meme.
Plus, let's just be honest. If I say happy birthday to somebody and I know it's their birthday, it gives me a great excuse to buy a cake. And who doesn't love birthday cake?
You buy it for yourself?
No, no. It just happens,
you see them throughout the day.
It just happens that everybody I've ever met loves Dairy Queen ice cream cake. I happen to not hate it.
Yeah, so you'll buy it, but then it's melting, so you've got that conundrum. If you're going to see that person or not, you better just eat it because it can't.
Even in their honor, I think it means more to have some Dairy Queen cake.
I would feel honored.
Yeah. I've had many Dairy Queen cakes in your honor.
You have.
Happy birthday.
Thanks. Not my birthday.
Oh, yeah.
Well, anyway, here's to you, kid.
To many more.
So I think that I used to ask people a question for fun a couple years ago of rate your job or rate your experience at your job, 1 through 10, 10 being the highest, 1 being the lowest. I got a lot of 5s. And this is not just mortgage. These are people that were, at the time, they were bank tellers, they were self-employed. And I met a lot of people that were 5s or 4s. I've met some 8s or 9s that usually were self-employed and had no boss. They were the boss. That was the trend I noticed for people that gave me 9s. They were, they had their own thing going. But I do think that in this industry, it's very important to keep people happy as best you can. Not everyone can be always a 10, but I have seen you put a lot of effort towards keeping people happy that followed you somewhere, that work for you. I'll use that phrase, work for you, because that's what they're doing. I disagree. I know you do, but
I don't like that, but okay.
But I do think that it feels pretty sincere to get to have someone at work treat you right, and that's something that sometimes can be missed.
Yeah, well, here's the cool thing about what we're fortunate to do, and there's a lot of days where even if overall you might rate your job as an 8 or 9 or 10, there's a lot of days where you have to give somebody bad news and tell them that maybe right now they can't buy the house that they wanted to, right? Or break down bad news to a good referral partner that something went wrong. And fortunately, that does happen, no matter how much you want to avoid it. And, for those that are listening that are on the homeowner's perspective, what you need to understand about any loan officer you work with, this is somebody that is 100% commission-based. They only earn a paycheck for their family if they get you to the finish line. So there's nobody outside of you and your family that is more motivated for that to happen. And there's a lot of people that have to take part in that, real estate agents and title companies and insurance companies and underwriters, but that's probably one of the worst days in a loan officer's life when they have to give somebody that bad news.
Yeah.
And so keeping that in mind and knowing that can sometimes be a challenge of the job, I really am fulfilled with what I do and helping loan officers and trying to create the mortgage company of choice wherever I go. That I really enjoy what I do, so that makes it easier to kind of try to be that reminder of people that, hey, we're doing a really good thing. We're helping pursue the dream of home ownership and helping families make what's probably their biggest financial decision that they're ever going to make, that comes with a 30-year commitment. and is a place that, according to every study I've seen, and there's numerous ones that are out there that say that children that grow up in a home where their parents own that home are more well adjusted and tend to do better in life, and families that have accomplished the dream of successful home ownership, and by that I mean they're in a home that is appropriate for them, that works for their finances and allows them to live the lifestyle they want, just are better adjusted people. And that's a pretty cool thing that we get to do. So I like to try to remind that of people, and that's really why at the end of the day we're doing anything that we do.
Mm-hmm. To wrap this up, I do want to again give you a chance to announce to the world, we have like 7 listeners, so that's okay, your new employer, your new role, your new title. Go ahead, James.
Oh yeah, I'm really excited to tell you about it. Pay attention, it's coming soon.
Okay, so right now soon, or like later on soon?
It's coming.
Okay. Well,
hold your breath.
All right. Well, again, the Tigers are getting restless. Looks like they got to be fed again. They're kind of now getting a bit more agitated. So we'll go ahead and sign up. So again, this is Justin, aka Juddy, and James. Do you have a nickname?
I don't have a nickname, but I do want to say. I do want to say this one last thing. Thank you very much for having me as a guest. I really appreciate it. It's a lot of fun. I've always enjoyed working with you. I love the podcast. I love what you're doing. And I do want to say a special thanks to Minnesota.
You can't say it, can you?
Minnesota.
Oh, wait.
I want to thank Justin's website.
Oh, gosh, your plug, yeah.
For sponsoring us.
So they're a heavy sponsor for this podcast. It's mnlowdownpayment.com.
So it's Minnesota, MN.
They're just MN.
Yeah, but Minnesota, MN.
Yeah, but it's just MN.
MN, Minnesota, low, LOW, down, DOWN.com.
No, it's mnlowdownpayment.com.
mnlowdownpayment.com.
I went to the longest possible website domain, and I think I found it.
Well, find Justin online. He's got a great website and is a hell of a guy.
All right, thanks. Thanks, Jimmy. Bye.